BaalZebul, an ancient Semitic god soon deemed to be the prince of all demons. You might know him under a different name, BaalZebub, or some may say Beelzebub. So how did this ancient god take such a dramatic fall from grace? Our journey today starts in the ancient land of Canaan, the land that we now call the Levant, and this is the area that encompasses places such as Israel, Jordan, Palestine, and parts of Syria. Now, the Canaanites had a very interesting religion. It was based around the cycles of nature, and amongst the gods of this pantheon were El, Asherah, Baal, Anat, Yam, and Mot. And we know quite a lot of the details of this Canaanite religion due to the fact of the discovery, the archaeological discovery of the Ugaritic tablets. And there were thousands of these tablets, and together they described in detail the Canaanite religion, along with the mythological tales and all of its stories. And if you want to know more details about the Ugaritic texts and this huge discovery, then there's a video, we've done a video about it, and we'll put the link to it in the description down below. Well, that's all well and good, you might be thinking, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to find out about BaalZebul or Beelzebub. I want to know how BaalZebul become the prince of demons. And we will get there, but I think it important to know just who this god actually was before we move on to the rest of the story. So if you notice there when I put up the list of the gods of the Pantheon, there was a god Baal. Now this is the god Baal Hadad. He was the Canaanite storm god, but he was also known under another epithet, which was BaalZebul. Now, Baal Hadad plays a very important role in the Canaanite religion. And one of the most important and perhaps the most well-known story is the story of the Baal cycle. The Baal cycle tells us all about that important cycle, the cycle of the seasons and the cycle of life, death and rebirth. It all starts out with a conflict between Baal, the storm god, and Yam, the god of the sea. You see, Yam had been declared king of the gods, but Baal, well, he wasn't having any of that. You see, Yam, being the sea god, represented chaos and disorder, and Baal doesn't want disorder and chaos in the world. And so Baal challenges Yam to a battle which Baal wins, and he becomes the king of the gods. And this battle represents the victory of order over disorder and chaos. Now the story says that, Baal's enjoying his power, and he builds a palace, and he invites the god of death, Mot, to come and visit and feast with him. Mot resents Baal's newfound power and prestige, and decides, he'll do away with him, and so Mot kills Baal. Now Baal's sister thinks, this is all pretty unfair, and she decides, she'll take vengeance, and she kills Mot, tearing him into pieces and then she travels to the underworld to rescue and resurrect Baal, placing him back on the throne as the king of the gods. But not after a while. Suppose he gets himself back together again, and he returns once again to challenge Baal. Now this story is very similar to other stories we see in other cultures right throughout the world. The most obvious story is, of course, that Egyptian story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, and it tells us of the vegetation cycle and the ongoing struggle between fertility and, in this case, death. Mot represents the arid summer, the drought that brings death to people, animals, and crops, while Baal, the storm god, represents the life-giving rains that brings fertility back to the lands. And so this is Baal's role. This is what Baal represents. He is the champion of order over disorder and chaos, and he is the storm god that brings the life-giving rains and fertility back to the land. So hardly a candidate for the prince of all demons, you might think. And so how did this happen? And we'll get to that part of the story right now. So there's a new group of boys in town, and they don't share the same Canaanite beliefs and the same gods. They have completely different viewpoints. And these are the Israelites and the Judeans. Now, although originally being Canaanite people, the people of Israel had their own protectorate god, and his name was Yahweh, and Yahweh's influence amongst the Israeli people gradually grew to overshadow the rest of the Canaanite pantheon. But there was still quite a bit of rivalry between the two belief systems at the time. Some people, they stayed with the old traditional Canaanite pantheon, while others believed there was only one true God, and that was the God of Israel and Yahweh. Now the story goes, as we're told in the Old Testament, that sometime around the 9th century BCE, there was a king Uzziah, who had injured himself severely, and he calls upon his prophets to consult with BaalZebul to see if he's going to recover. Now Elijah, a prophet of Yahweh, is deeply disturbed when he hears of this, and he claims, "Are there no gods of Israel that you could consult, that you have to send your messengers to BaalZebub?" Not BaalZebul, but BaalZebub. And BaalZebub has a very different meaning to that of BaalZebul. So BaalZebul meant Exalted Lord, while BaalZebub meant Lord of Flies, and the name carried multiple layers of insult, as we all know what flies are attracted to. He was effectively calling Baal the Lord of Filth, Decay, and Disease. And there we have it, the first incarnation of the demonization of Baal Hadad, the storm god. But the story doesn't end just there. Far from it. This led to widespread mockery by the followers of Yahweh, now laughing at and holding in ridicule this God that was so high and mighty. Exalted God is now demoted to be the god of filth. And this little play of words led to a much deeper cultural separation between the Canaanite and the Israelite people. And as we travel down through the years, this little insult is not forgotten. And later, in the New Testament, Matthew 12:24, I believe, the name takes on a new transformation from BaalZebub to Beelzebub, where he is named the Prince of all demons. And this demonization continued on right down through the ages and right into the medieval period, where Baal's name, or derivations of his name, found its way into many of the medieval grimoires. So there we have it, BaalZebul, once great storm god and bringer of life-giving rains and fertility. Through the ages, demonized to Beelzebub, the prince of all demons. And I hope you've all enjoyed today's discussion on the demonization of BaalZebul. And if you have, don't forget the old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And with that, I'll see you again very soon on the next one.